Well, this is Daybreak. Now let's take a look at what's making the headlines on the papers from around the world. As usual, we'll begin with our sister publication This Day. It is highlighting President Muhammadu Buhari's activities in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The bold headline this morning, in Riyadh, Buhari calls on world leaders to invest in policies that guarantee global security. The Riders says on the investment genesis of rising socio-economic challenges, restates commitment to people-oriented policies, seeks debt relief for struggling economies. Other interesting headlines on the front page this morning. Again, CJN, that's the Chief Justice of Nigeria, laments reckless court orders, appeals to judges, lawyers not to destroy judiciary. And above the nameplate this morning, NNPC, $3.097 billion in investment opportunities exist in condensate refineries, as Nigeria needs $2.7 billion to improve product supply, distribution infrastructure, projects petroleum products, demand to grow to 17.3 million metric tons by 2025. Finally, let's take this one. Enthusiasm trains eNaira as Nigerians download 200,000 wallets in 24 hours. I do need to download my e-wallet too.
Yeah, I've thought about it as well. But before I get to that, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The headlines, federal government lists Diezani's buildings, jewelry, bras for sale. Values Bade's mansions. And under that, suspect wedding gowns, invisible bras, 64 pairs of shoes put up for sale. Port transportation, port facilities, killing Nigeria's manufacturers. Those are words from Adeshino. You can find that report on page 21. PENCOM to prosecute errant employers receives 19.29 billion naira pensions. 22 governors apply as federal government begins model ranch funds disbursement next week. Good news. Now, Osho pleads for understanding as protesting retirees shut state secretariat. There's more, but the last here on the Punch newspaper. Ekiti herdsman bags life imprisonment for grazing on cassava farm and shooting owner.
Moving on to the Guardian newspaper this morning. Front page leading with weak export capacity undermines proceeds from Naira devaluation. The AFDB faults federal government's stance on import substitution and says its restrictive vision. Nigeria's export value per capita remains abysmally low at $160. Also, it costs $35,000 to export 100 tons of produce from Nigeria, compared to $4,000 in Ghana. Other headlines here, Safe Schools, over 12 million children traumatized, afraid to go to school, says President Buhari. Meanwhile, 1,436 pupils, 17 teachers have been abducted from schools between December 2020 and October 2021. Other headlines on the Guardian newspaper. Chaos, extortion return to NIN registration centers ahead of deadline.
Well, moving to The Nation, the paper is reporting that unless there's a quick resolution of the row between the federal government and states over deduction from the federation account, many states may not be able to pay salary this month in its lead story. The paper also continues its coverage of the countdown to the Anambra 2021 elections. It says IG deploys, that's the Inspector General of Police, deploys 2 DIGs, 5 AIGs, others for poll. Security personnel will follow rules of engagement, he's promising. He also says we have enough, INEC is saying they have enough manpower for this election.
Now, a quick look at the international papers. The Independent, budget warning for Sunak over NHS. Ministers put off COVID decisions for 2 weeks.
Well, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello to review some of the stories with us this morning. Emmanuel, as always, great to see you this morning. Let's begin with this day. President Muhammadu Buhari is in Saudi Arabia and he has been speaking. He says it's time for the world and investors, world leaders and investors to look more at humane policies to better close the gap of inequality in the world. What's the angle here for President Muhammadu Buhari?
Well, he's speaking straight to the theme of the summit itself, which is investing in humanity. So he's staying on the script and on point, and of course, bristling from his unveiling of the eNaira. Yeah, he feels that it's time to, talk to the world at the world stage of some of the things, and he painted a rather very rosy picture of what he think investors should be looking forward to in Nigeria, and then he made it look as if, well, everything is right, they could come here. Of course, he was sincere enough to talk about some of the crises rocking the country, but he was quick to also point to the effort he's making and how the kind of investments that the summit is looking in can actually happen in Nigeria. He also talked about his own effort to invest in the over 70% youth capacity of the country, and then so generally he's trying to talk tough on the world stage. He's trying to present a different kind of picture of the country, and also to give a better pass mark or better report card to the effort he's been making. I remember that at the minister's retreat he did some of that, and of course with the successes recorded in the issue of eNaira and other issues. He even spoke about what he's done to the oil sector, especially with the passing of the Petroleum Act. So he's generally talking to the right set of people, investors, and telling them that investing in human capacity is still the best and can guarantee securities, and asking them to, he's playing the role of a salesman, if you wish, or a great marketer, marketing the country. He's the number one marketer of the country on the global stage, and in Riyadh, he brought that out. And kudos to this day newspaper to focus on that. That's what a paper should do. Look at what the president is saying and what he's not saying, and where he's saying them and to who. That's a very, very important and fundamental thing. If you listen to the speech, it was almost as if it was addressing in the United Nations, almost like a State of the Union address, but basically aimed at giving the country some kind of good image out there and invite investors to invest in the country.
Daniel, you did mention the eNaira 2 or 3 times, and still in this day, it says enthusiasm trails eNaira as Nigerians download 200,000 wallets in 24 hours. Do you have yours yet? I don't have mine. It's off to a good start, isn't it?
Yeah, it's off to a good start, and this one will have to help us understand better what to do. But for some of us who are still dealing with our kind of, and we still love to hold our monies this way, the eNaira is going to be something that we have to grapple with. We still have our wallets with us and all of that. But yes, the enthusiasm is there, and I think a lot of Nigerians are looking forward to how it's going to work, especially with the kind of sort of citizen education that is going on. CBN mounted an aggressive, education out there, teaching people what to do about it. The only thing for me is that it has not really changed the value of the Naira. That's not what the CBN is saying. It's saying that it just make it easy for us to do transaction. But if you are like me, sometimes you want to keep to your real currency, your real money in your real pockets. But now that is replaced, or that might be replaced by the eNaira, and already from the reporting, a lot of Nigerians are very enthusiastic about it. It's good to embrace the new while you keep some of the gains of the old.
All right, Emmanuel, moving on, and still on the Naira, but not the eNaira. The Guardian newspaper says weak export capacity undermines proceeds from Naira devaluation, and the Africa Development Bank is blaming the federal government's stance on import substitution, saying it's a restrictive vision. Where should the federal government be focused on?
Well, the former Minister of Agriculture, additional, has been talking and really adducing, suggesting ways to deal with the crisis of whether it is devaluation, whether it is the problem of exports and the economy generally. He should know he's heading the African a huge investment bank on that front. And so some of whatever he says is very important, and the story is emanating from some of the things he had to say at the various summits that are going on. It's almost as if it's Davos all over in Nigeria, with all the economic eggheads coming together, whether it is at the economic summit or even when the Manufacturer Association of Nigeria are having their 50 years anniversary. So the issues around issues of the port, issues of power, issue of transportation. One of the papers just concluded that additional is saying, look, port, transportation, the issue of energy are going to be the crisis around the economy, almost summarizing it up. But the Guardian report is a very detailed one with additional coming out very strongly on the issue of ports, especially. He said something that was very profound. He said it's not about decongesting the ports, it's about transforming them. So I think he's saying a lot that the government need to listen to and find alternative ways of energizing the export sector as a major earner of our GDP.
Well, talking about energizing, Emmanuel, did you know that the Central Bank of Nigeria says there'll be no charges on transactions on the eNaira for the first 90 days? I just said I should tell you that. But moving on to the Nation paper this morning, it continues its coverage of the Anambra elections. We're barely days into the elections. And yesterday, there was an announcement by the Inspector General of Police in Nigeria deploying 2 DIGs, 5 AIGs, and in the past, we've heard about 34,000 boots will be on ground. Emmanuel, we've seen over-militarization or militarization of the Nigerian election. Can we say the Anambra election will be over-policed?
Well, with 34,000 policemen, 3 helicopters that are going to make their... My worry is that it has not really restored a lot of confidence, especially among the workers. Last night, some of the staff calling me and asking me if they should go to Anambra and all of that. So, you see, it's not really restored. We should worry about that. It's not even about the people on ground. It's about the ad hoc staff. But INEC, as at yesterday, is still saying that, look, they are ready for these elections, even with the police making some of those changes and some of those deployments. So, yeah, very over-policed, if you ask me, yes. But again, if you look at what's at stake, at the heart of it is actually the struggle for the heart of not just Anambra State, but for the Southeast. The federal government, on one hand, talking tough, the separatist group saying this will not happen. They will not allow the elections to go on. But of course, we'll keep our eyes on. November is going to be interesting as we look at this election to see whether these deployments are going to actually secure the place and we're going to have elections.
And quickly, Emmanuel, this headline, an interesting one in the Punch newspaper: federal government lists Diezani's buildings, jewelry, brass for sale, and values Bade's mansions. Proceeds from corruption. How far so far?
Well, it's designing, but yesterday someone was showing me something, and for features of, it's a document on how many people have forfeited, things to be sold in this manner. And if you look at the designing loot, as it's called, it's quite interesting. Some of the items there are almost very comical, invisible bra, wedding gowns, and all of that. So it's quite an interesting story. And this process, the government is thinking of reselling, selling them and actually retooling them into better uses. A lot of people will say that's a good one to do. But again, most importantly, there should be a holistic approach to what to do with these loots and what to do with these forfeitures in the future.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel Bello, for reviewing the papers with us this morning. As always, much appreciated. We'll see you tomorrow.